The book, Letting Go, by David R. Hawkins, has 100% changed my perspective on life. I'm not the biggest self-help reader, and I'm definitely not going to be the person that goes around telling people to read all the self-help books in the world, but this one has genuinely changed the way I think about everything. And I know how it sounds. I might just sound like another guy on YouTube telling you that a specific book has changed his life, but I do really want you to hear me out on this one because I think this is different than anything else that I've read. And I think if you're in your 20s and struggling with purpose, anxiety, or just feeling like you can't get out of your own head, this book is really going to hit different. I really recommend that you read it first, but I want to break down the ideas that actually stuck with me and explain why they work. The first is the problem with how we handle feelings. The book starts off with something that sounds simple, but kind of blew my mind when I actually thought about it. Most of us handle our emotions in one of three ways, and all three of them are kind of wrong. The first is suppression, just pushing the feelings down and pretending like it's not there. The problem is that it doesn't just make it really go away, but instead it builds on internal pressure and eventually shows up somewhere else, like in your body, your mood, and your relationships. The second is expression. Things like venting, blowing up, and acting out. It kind of just feels like it should work because you're at least getting it out. But what Hawkins argues is that venting actually amplifies the emotion instead of discharging it. You're not releasing the feeling, instead you're just rehearsing it over and over and over again. The third is escape. And this one is the most relatable one for people right now. Things like distracting yourself with constant activity, your phone, substances, anything to avoid sitting with that feeling. And all that really does is just delay it. The emotion is really still there waiting for you when the distraction runs out. And I think a lot of us are living in that third category almost permanently now. We have more ways to escape than any other generation before us, and we use all of them constantly. Another one I want to talk about is the actual mechanism of letting go. So if suppression, expression, and escape all don't work, then what does? Hawkins calls it surrender. And I want to be clear that this doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means something very specific. The first step is to just notice that the feeling is actually there and let it be. Don't judge it, don't try to change it, don't immediately reach for your phone and make it go away. Just let it arise and completely sit still with it. The second step is to drop the story around it. This part really got me. Most of the time we feel bad, we just immediately start attaching a narrative to it. This happened because of that person, this means this about me, and this is always going to be this way. Hawkins says ignore all of that. Don't engage with these thoughts, just focus on the raw physical sensation of the emotion in your body. Where do you feel it? What does it actually feel like as pure energy? And the third step, and this is the really key insight of the whole book, is that it's not the emotion itself that causes the suffering, it's really the resistance of that emotion. The moment you stop fighting the feeling and just let it be there without resisting, it starts to naturally shift and dissipate on its own. This sounds almost too simple, but once I actually started trying it, I realized how much energy I was spending every day just resisting feelings instead of letting them move through. Another big concept in the book is what Hawkins calls the map of consciousness. And this is basically a scale of emotional states ranked from the lowest to highest. At the bottom, you have things like apathy, grief, fear, and anger. These are heavy, draining states, the ones that feel like they're pulling you down and making everything harder. And then there's the turning point, things like courage. Hawkins marks this as the point of where real healing begins. Once you cross that threshold, you start moving up to acceptance, genuine love for life, and eventually peace. What I found interesting about this is that it reframes the whole goal. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about recognizing what emotional state you're operating from and understanding that you can improve and move upward by letting go of the lower ones instead of feeding into them. The biggest practical thing I took from this book is that stressing about something isn't going to change the outcome. I know that really sounds obvious, but I really kind of did not live like that before reading this book. For example, I used to put a lot of pressure on myself academically. I would stay up the night before a big test, just kind of lying there in my bed stressing about it. And in my head, I thought that the more I would think about something, the better prepared I was going to be. Like the stress itself was going to be something useful. But all it was doing was the opposite. Whatever was going to happen is going to happen. And losing sleep and mental energy over it was only going to make me worse going into it. The best thing I could have done was let go of the outcome and just show up clear and rested as possible. That shift alone changed how I approach a lot of things now. So, most self-help books have this energy where the author is clearly trying to sound smarter than everyone else, like they figured out something crazy that you couldn't possibly understand without their specific method. And I really like that Hawkins doesn't do this. He starts by literally saying there's nothing to memorize from this book, no steps to write down, no phrases to repeat, no specific setting or sitting position. The example he gives are normal and easy to apply to your own life. It reads like someone genuinely trying to share something useful rather than just trying to sell you on a system. And the other thing that separates it from a lot of other of the enlightened mindfulness content out there is that he's not telling you that being present is something impossible or you can only reach by some specific esoteric practice. He says you can reach that state right now. For example, going for a walk, reading a book, doing the dishes. Presence isn't a destination you arrive at like after years of meditation. It's something you can start learning to access in normal everyday moments once you understand what's been blocking it. The book is a little older now, but it still completely holds up. A lot of what he says is more relevant today than when he wrote it. He talks about how negative emotional states and constant low quality input can feel like they just suck the light out of you. And I think everyone has felt that after a doom scroll session, after sitting on your phone for hours absorbing more information than someone 100 years ago would have ever encountered in an entire month. It feels impossible to do anything productive or meaningful afterwards. Your energy is just gone, and your ability to be present is gone. And that's not a coincidence. That's exactly what Hawkins is describing. That constant escape into low-quality stimulation is just another form of suppression. And it's keeping a lot of people stuck in those lower emotional states without even realizing it. So, if any of this resonated with you, I really think that this is worth picking up. It's not a long read, and it's not a hard one, but the ideas in it have a way of sticking with you and quietly changing how you respond to things over time. It's the only book I would actually recommend to someone my age trying to figure things out. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. See ya.